Hello everyone, I'm Dan, and you might know me from my videos on gaming or movies, but what you might not know is that I used to work in mental health for a number of years, and so it's still something that is very important to me, and any opportunity I get to sort of bring together talking about mental health and gaming in particular, I jump at the chance. Now we know that gaming can be a way to relax and stay connected with your friends, but also can lead to healthy brain stimulation and can help people develop coping mechanisms for difficult situations. Obviously, everything in moderation, and also that taking the step of reaching out and asking help from professionals is still the best course of action to take if you're finding things difficult. Now, without further ado, I just would like to introduce my special guest, Rosie Taylor, who is the Content and Community Manager with Safe in Our World and has worked on the fantastic Safe Space podcast discussing mental health in video games with various creators and key figures within the industry. And I just want to say a big thank you for taking the time out to do this with me today. So how are you doing?
Yeah, no worries at all. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the lovely introduction.
Could you tell viewers a little bit about yourself? How did you get started with Safe in Our World? And tell us a little bit about the charity, what they do, please.
Yes, so I learned about Safe in Our World in 2020. It was just after the pandemic was in like full swing. I was working with another charity, and I was at the Nightingale Hospital, and I got chatting to one of the volunteers for that charity who was really excited about The Last of Us, and I was excited about The Last of Us, and so we just got chatting, and it turns out that at the time she was one of the trustees for the charity, which was Safe in Our World, and told me a little bit about it, which was that it was a mental health video games charity basically, and it worked to support not only people who play games but also people who make them, make the industry a safer place to be, because notoriously it's not had the best reputation for supporting its employees. And I was like, oh my god, that sounds so needed. I'd never even thought about it. Then it turned out that there was just about to be a spot open for recruitment, and so I applied for it. I got it, and then me and one of my colleagues, who's now my manager, Sarah, we were like the first two employees to actually get into the charity, because previously to that it was volunteer run, and that's kind of what started it, I guess. And then for myself, I've always been very much interested in mental health. I've got a lot of lived experience, and I learned a lot about myself throughout, especially through like school and university, and I'd always played games as well, but I'd never really thought about the intersection of the two. Mm-hmm. And then being able to do that and explore that within a job was like the coolest thing ever to me. And so yeah, that's kind of how I've grown into this role. Is now what I do is content and community, so I'll be looking after the community within these online spaces, mm-hmm. and using people's stories to be able to foster that conversation that's more positive and more transparent around mental health than often we see in media. So yeah. It's a really nice intersection to look at for me.
Okay, that's great. So especially sort of these days, gaming has become such a big part of people's lives. It's one of the top forms of media and recreation. But has gaming always sort of been a big part of your life? And can you remember the moment when you, I guess, sort of fell in love with gaming?
Yes, 100%. So I grew up watching my brother play the PlayStation 2, I think it was, or it could have been the PlayStation. And I remember so fondly of sitting on this, we had this like weird, really high up bed that was like in the spare room of our house. Mm-hmm. And the other side was this really old, like, cranky TV and the consoles. And so we would sit and I would watch him play games, because I wasn't allowed to touch the consoles, of course, because I had to watch him because it was his. And I would watch him play like all the classics like Crash and Spyro, and one of my most fond memories was The Hobbit PlayStation 2. It is an absolute gem of a game if anyone has ever played it. And I it's so bad. It's so good as well. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's magical. And I still play it now with my best friends whenever I go to London. Because it's just like one of the I don't know why. Like, we just love the nostalgia of it, I guess. And so I think like then watching someone else play it was like that moment for me where I was like, oh, I just love this. Like, I love games. And so when my brother eventually left, he grew up a bit more because he's 3 years older than me, so he grew up a bit faster than me and got into like, you know, like the online games with his friends and so I kind of got left in the wayside and was like, oh, I guess I'll play the Wii with my dad, like that sort of stuff, right? And it's always kind of just been that thing. And then I guess I first got my own real console for myself, which was the PlayStation 3, when it was during high school, I believe, and I'd seen someone play The Last of Us online on YouTube and was just like, I need to play this game, like I just need to. And so that's the reason why I bought this like old secondhand PlayStation 3 with The Last of Us and played it through and played it like 4 times. And I just absolutely loved it. And so from then on, I was like, oh my God, I own something. I can play the games that I want to play now. It doesn't, like, I've not had any experience of that other than renting Scooby-Doo for the PlayStation 2 when I was younger. Like, there's really nothing else to compare it to. So yeah, it was amazing for me.
So is there anything that you're playing at the moment?
Yes, I am back into Stardew Valley. I'm absolutely on one. It's taken over my life a little bit again, but like in the best way possible. I've been chatting to like 3 or 4 people who've also just gotten back into Stardew Valley recently, and it's like there's this resurgence. I know that it was their 7th anniversary, I think, like a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, you keep finding out new things about this game. Like, I just found out that you can put a hat on the horse, which has absolutely like made my day. It's amazing. He's got a sailor hat now and we both ride out together in hats. It's just so wholesome. I love it so much. And then on...
I was just going to say, Stardew Valley is one of those games that I keep hearing about, but I've never sort of
You've never played it?
I've never played it,
Oh
no.
my gosh, right. I introduced one of my friends to Stardew Valley at the weekend and they were like, I can't believe I've never played this. This is delightful. I would highly recommend it because you can play in co-op or you just play by yourself. And like either way, I feel like you get a totally different experience. It's so good. It's so wholesome. You can play however you want to play. The community is very like inclusive and inviting, and it's just kind of like no one judges you if you go to bed at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. You know, you can just do nothing with your day and go to bed and no one tells you off for it. It's great.
If you had a favorite game, what would it be? An absolute favorite. Hard question.
God of War 2018.
Okay.
I've had time to think about this because I had to go on record last year for the Game Awards. They came to Brighton when we were at Develop to film like a what's your game of all time, and I was like, oh dear God, and they were like, yeah, it'll be filmed, it'll be recorded, and I was like, okay, I'll really think about it. And I went on record on the Game Awards saying that it was God of War 2018. I'm sticking to my guns. I still think it was a phenomenal game and it is definitely one of my favorites. Oh yeah, I would say that or The Last of Us. It would have to be between those two.
Okay, good picks.
Oh, I feel like I'm doing it so dirty to all the other games that I love so much. It's so hard. How do people pick just one?
Okay, this one is purely for me just because I'm a big movie nerd, and I know it's a hard one to answer, but if you had to pick favorite movie or just one that you've watched and it sort of stayed with you since you watched it, what would that one be?
Oh God, I'm so bad with movies. I will watch the same comfort movies over and over again, and TV shows like and for some reason I'm so much more into TV shows, but movies wise, I watched one recently. Actually no, right, top watched movies of all times, the original extended edition Lord of the Rings. Okay. 10 out of 10. Beautiful. Yeah. And then the one that I watched recently was with a friend, and it was called Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. And it's like not a hugely dated movie or anything, but like it made me really existential. And I was just, I don't know, I just like films that make you feel a certain way afterwards, or make you keep thinking about them after you've watched them. And so I guess that was definitely one. And then I also watched The Banshees of Inisherin, which also made me, oh my God, I was like dead inside, but it was phenomenal. But
it was a good movie.
It wasn't an uplifting movie. If anyone's thinking about that, like I left feeling very hollow and was just like, I don't know what to do anymore. I
thought it would be a dark comedy, but it sort of went quite dark, and then it was just
dark. There wasn't much comedy in it anymore. It just slowly got darker and darker over the course of like the couple of hours there. And I suggested it to one of my Irish friends, and he watched it, and then we had to have like a 30-minute discussion over the phone about what he thought and all of the different meanings, and like from his point of view, because obviously he knows Irish history a lot better than I do. And it was just it's just so fascinating. I'm still like learning more stuff about that film specifically, so
But there's always been this I guess this stigma with gaming, having this sort of been a bad pastime to have, like this idea of kids sort of locking themselves away for hours or becoming aggressive, and then on the flip side to that, you have this negative connotation with mental health. In your experience with Safe in Our World, is this an image that you feel is being seen in a more positive light now for both?
I hope so. I mean, honestly, a lot of the people who come to our charity already resonate with our message, and so it's difficult to be able to say that we've like changed their perspective on something like that. What I would say about the other things is that there's really not an awful lot of unbiased scientific evidence to suggest that video games make anyone violent, and the like. But it's interesting, right? Because you do see a specific stigma with games, but you don't. So let's say, like, for example, someone is like, oh my gosh, I binge watched the entirety of New Girl, which would be a hell of a feat, actually. There's lots of series there. But, I binge watched New Girl for 12 hours on Saturday. Everyone will be like, oh, yeah, I needed that, right? But then if you say I sat in a room and played Zelda for like 6 hours, people will be like, okay. Like, and it's that weird sort of thing. It's like one is way more interactive, first of all. Than the other, because it's not a passive experience. You are actively engaging your brain into looking at what's happening. But secondly, like, I don't know, they're just two very similar forms of entertainment, and one is seen as a waste of time and one is seen as not. And there's not really a reason why, because I think it's just that lack of understanding from one party to the other, and that gaming is relatively new, and so they see it, so a lot of people see it as something to be like, oh yeah, it's scary, I don't want to really understand it, it's just people shooting each other on games, right? And that's obviously like not it. And there's so many new genres of gaming that people don't know about, because it's still very much an evolving field of entertainment. And it's exactly the same as films, because you don't just pick war films if you want to watch something, right? There's other things you can go to Disney Channel and broaden your horizons. But it's somehow different for games, and I hope that the work that Safe in Our World is doing is helping people understand that gaming is not just one facet of entertainment, and that there is so much more to it. And it's not necessarily games themselves always. It is that personal connection that people have with gaming, with specific characters, people exploring their identity. Like, there's so much out there, and then that's not even like talking about like the friendships that we make through games as well. So yeah, I hope so. In answer to your question, I really hope so. And I think a lot of people are becoming more open-minded to it. Because I think it's just shy of like half the planet games at this point, or has played a game at some point in their life, and they don't consider it gaming if it's a mobile game or whatever. But we're getting there. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, you've touched on some of those points, like we're making friendships, but do you think there are, or what do you think are the positives of gaming from your viewpoint?
I think it can be a healthy escape from life sometimes. I personally have used games when I'm feeling incredibly overwhelmed to be able to put my mind to something that's not self-destructive, which is great. I have made friends through gaming, not even necessarily multiplayer games, but just literally having conversations with people in the same community and then realizing how similar we are. I've visited Scotland to see friends who I'd never met before in real life, and it was terrifying, but it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I have discovered like more about what I actually enjoy spending my time doing. I've discovered more about mental health and how I'm passionate about it because of video games, essentially. And recently I did a article because at Safe in Our World we do like monthly themes of content, and this month's theme is death and bereavement. And I did an article talking about how games helped me reconnect with some of my like friends and flatmates after the bereavement of one of our friends at university. And it's like, that's like the power of games, right? It's that it can bridge people together in times where you don't really know what to do, and sometimes just playing a game and allowing that space to talk about things that actually matter is so easy to do. So yeah, I think there's a lot of positives to games that have essentially, you know, I don't know, like brought out these conversations with people and allowed that to happen in a space that's comfy.
So I saw you, I saw that Safe in Our World did a charity bundle with Fanatical recently. Could you say more about how that went? Are there plans to do more things like this or similar events coming up?
Yeah, so that was great actually. So we do a charity bundle every year. Now that was our third. I think it was our third. Oh gosh, I hope it was our third. If I haven't, I've made a mistake. But we do an annual charity bundle, and the past 3 years it's been with Fanatical, who are wonderful to work with. And it sold out in less than 24 hours, which was the fastest we have ever sold a bundle. Like it's usually taken a couple of weeks, or sometimes we haven't sold out because it's just literally, you know, not been the case. And so this one was amazing to have that. Like I had to reschedule all my memes to go out before because it was literally like I had them scheduled over the weekend, and by Friday morning and they were like, it's gonna sell out today, and I was like, oh no, I need to get like the Simpsons meme moved over. Like I spent time on that. So it was, you know what, it was really fun. Some fantastic games on there, like Spirit Fair and such, and like we'll definitely be keeping on doing that because it's a really nice way for us to raise awareness, but also get involved with a lot of different companies and showcase some like awesome games for people. So it's a win-win, I think, for everyone. But yeah, no, it's a delight to work on the bundle.
That's cool. If people, content creators, wanted to get involved, is there a way of supporting Safe in Our World?
Yeah, so we have a couple of things. Fundraising is always a huge one for us. We don't have any like grants or any funding that comes from anything other than donations at the moment. So it's like very much, you know, donation led, which is kind of scary, but also it's lovely to see the community rallying together to help us. And we have a bunch of different support for fundraisers on our website. And then once a year now, we've changed it to an annual program. We have a class of ambassadors, and that opens in October in accordance with our birthday or anniversary, which is World Mental Health Day on the 10th of October. And we choose a class of 25-ish people to support the charities, to be able to help tell their stories and support the charity in a closer way than what other people can do, because it's been overwhelming working. We're still such a small team, and it's quite overwhelming to have so many people want to help, which is honestly why we then streamlined it into an annual class, so it's just a little bit more easy to manage, because it's amazing seeing people want to support, but we don't have the time to commit to everyone the way that I would want to if we did it that way. So that's kind of the reason for the annual class. So that's another thing. And then I guess like I'm always looking to share people's stories, to chat to a lot of different people and a lot of different people's experiences. And so I'm like very much open to ideas. If people just want to drop me an email or like message me on Twitter or whatever it is, just to say like, hey, I've got this idea, do you think it would work? Like, yeah, talk to me, because I'm happy to explore people's ideas and see what they think would work, and just allow them to kind of like, shine through their own ways of, oh my God, medication alarm's going off, I'm so sorry. It's nice to see people use things that they're passionate about to be able to raise awareness in their own way, because I think that's what hits with communities, is seeing that connection. So yeah.
Okay, great, thank you very much. And that's all the questions that I have for you for today. Just want to say once again a big thank you. I really appreciate you taking your time to do this with me today, and for all the wonderful work that you've done. Hopefully we can do something like this again at some point. But before you go, is there anything else you would like to add, sort of outside of the work you do with Safe in Our World? I know that you're part of Game Devs North. Is that something you could tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, so Game Devs North is Annie's absolute brainchild, and I have to give all of the credit to Annie, because honestly they do so much work on it. I was brought on to help when we did a Halloween event for Safe in Our World, and I kind of just thought, this is such a good idea, I want to get involved more, and Annie very kindly let me be a part of that. And so it's essentially Game Devs North is looking at creating more events for people in the North who are into games and into content creation and game development. Because there's so little events happening here compared to down south. I lived in London for 3 years, and there was an event every other weekend, and you would just go into London and it was great. But if you don't live in London, or if you are not absolutely loaded, it's very difficult to be able to go to these events in an effective way that's actually budget friendly. And so it's more about creating inclusive events for lots of different people, but focused on the North, that aren't just alcohol based or London based. And so I guess that's kind of the main point of it. But yeah, we are looking to keep that going. I know that Annie's planning to raise some hell while I'm in GDC in Manchester, so keep an eye on our Twitter. I think it's just at Game Devs North. But yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I'll make sure to leave links in the descriptions below, so please make sure to check those out. Check out Safe in Our World, and make sure to check out the Safe Space podcast that Rosie does, as they are all great. I've listened to a few of those, and they're really good. So thank you all for watching. Thank you, Rosie, for being here again today, and I'll catch you all next time.